Hello, Abraham. Couple things. First of all, I'm really wondering, why is it that you do not teach what it is that we should desire? Because, for example, somebody could be like one of those people in the movie The Secret who wants a huge mansion or 5 women in 1 week. And then a person could really focus on it and then really focus, and then in a few years they'll get that mansion. But then once they get that mansion, it could very well be that they will be really distracted from the source, from who they really are. I mean, in getting that desire which they really want, it'll actually take them a step back.
Well, you see, there's a flawed premise here, and let's see if we can clear that up, and then we'll talk about the details that you were offering here. The creative process is really 3 steps. The first step is ask, and life and its contrast causes you to do just that. So step 1 happens through your deciphering of life, through your synthesizing of life, through your perusal through contrast. You're doing the asking. So you're actually putting into your vortex the details of what you're asking for. So the asking isn't that someone is just going to sit down with a notebook and say, I want a mansion, or I want 5 beautiful women. It isn't that way. Their life has been causing them to carve out the details of what they are wanting. So we don't have to tell you what you want. Your life has already put it there for you. Our work is to help you get what you want. Our work is to help you to understand that until you line up with who you are, you can't be a vibrational match to what you have put there, you see. So if this were an earlier conversation that we were having many years ago, before you and so many others were understanding so much of the basis of what we are teaching, we would have answered your question in a simpler way. We would have said, well, we don't have the right to choose for you. You were born to make your own choices. But we don't even want to go down that road, because we don't want to imply even a little bit that it's possible for you to make wrong choices. Because let's say that you're living in a house that's not magnificent, and you are feeling the disdain of people who aren't approving of the house you're living in. It doesn't matter how you come to the conclusion that you want what you want. When you've decided that you want something, you put it into your vortex. But the thing that your version of it and our sort of aligning with your version is leaving out of this scenario is that everything that everyone wants, no matter what, whether it's a material object or a state of being or a pile of money or a relationship or a circumstance or an event or a condition, everything that everyone wants is for one reason only, and that is they believe they will feel better in the having of it. So there is something that is missing that they are wanting to be there. So over time, as you're moving through life, you have enough exposure to experiences that you ask for the improvement about this and the improvement about this and the improvement about this, and each of those desires is like an amendment, another amendment. So what's happening is what you're asking for, or your creation, is just evolving, and each time you say, oh yeah, and this, source holds that too, so that who you are becoming keeps evolving, and that's why it keeps being more and more important that you keep up with it. So let's take the example that you offered. Let's say that someone thought they wanted, well, play that scenario out a little bit. Give us a sort of story, the way you were seeing it, that someone thought they wanted a mansion and then it didn't turn out right. Give us an example.
Somebody gets the mansion. They'll get caught up in it. They'll be really happy about it. And then eventually they will have to change their desire, because it's not going to, since they've achieved the mansion, they'll want something else, and they'll see that the mansion isn't actually maybe as great as they thought they would.
But you see, and we'll go along with all of that, but we won't agree that the mansion wasn't a good idea. We just will agree that there's always something more, and always something more, and always something more.
It takes them further.
So what we say to you when we talk to you about being the creator, we say you are the creator of you. You are the creator of you in your lifestyle and you in your body and you connected to source, and you are the connector of you. You are the creator of you. You are the aligner of you, you see. We used to tell a story about someone living in a house with no beautiful view, and so they wanted a beautiful view, and it didn't have running water, so they wanted running water, and it didn't have much easy access to the rest of the world, and so they wanted something that was more well situated. And then they got into their house, and once they got in it, then they realized that they really wanted a house with more closets. Well, but they needed the exposure to life that caused them to ask for more closets, because the fact of it is, no one can stand just in a neutral space and conjure everything that you might need next. In other words, you have to bounce to it from where you are. And you are absolutely right. This is the way we like to explain what you are wanting to elicit from us. This is the picture that we understand, that we so want all of you to understand. So you are source energy, and a part of you comes into this physical body, and you explore the contrast, and you launch these rockets of desire. And the larger part of you immediately takes to the new rocket and becomes it, and feels the satisfaction of it, and offers the signal of that, calling you to it. And as you care about how you feel and reach for the thoughts that align with that vibrational signal, you feel yourself coming into interest. You feel yourself coming into passion. You feel yourself coming into alignment. But the life-giving quality of it is just intoxicating. That, in fact, is the reason we all continue to reach into new places for new ideas, because we so adore that feeling of expansion and coming into alignment. So humans, often life causes them to expand, but they don't keep up with the expansion, so it doesn't feel fun to them. It doesn't feel good to them. The more they become and the more they hold out on themselves, the worse they feel. So then, let's say, as in the analogy that you were offering, they find through the reading of a book or through the hearing of some information, they find a little more allowing than usual, or they fall in love, or they get distracted. They stop doing that thing they do that keeps them out of alignment, and so they sort of blunder into alignment. And they feel that exhilaration of coming into the stream of that energy moving, and they feel enlivened and they feel passion. And you would say, that's what life is all about. And we say, of course it's what life is all about. But who gets to decide what the most important part of that was? Because if they weren't non-physical, they couldn't have been physical. And if they weren't physical exploring contrast, they wouldn't have offered the bounce into the vortex. And if the source within them had not held the energy and called them, then they couldn't have felt the discord. And if they hadn't moved in the direction of it, then they couldn't feel the glorious expansion or the glorious feeling of coming into alignment. So we want to unequivocally agree with you. We're going to put it in very emphatic terms. We think the very best part of life, and the reason that so many of us keep signing on for more deliberate creation, is because there is nothing in all of the universe more exhilarating than to expand and not quite go with it, and then to figure out how to go with it and close the gap. It's that closing of the gap that is the most delicious part of life. And once the gap's closed, then there you stand with your manifestation, whoop-de-doo. There you stand with your manifestation, but it's the energy in motion that is the thrill. Esther will say to Jerry, look at that beautiful car. Why don't you buy that for me? It would make me happy for the afternoon. And that's really about it. That really is about it. Oh, she can find things to appreciate about it. But what really gets your juices flowing is living life and reaching to a new place that you haven't been. And then the larger part of you going, and you being consciously aware that there's a little split energy going on, but being wise enough to know that your guidance is showing you that you're not quite up to speed, and then working the vibration until you get into speed, and then feeling the relief of releasing the resistance, and then seeing the momentum actually kick into gear, and then watching the pieces coming into place for you as the universe honors you with its ability to give you anything that you ask for. And that satisfying feeling of knowing that you are the creator of your own reality, and then watching the full thing come into place, and then you stand there in reveille just for a moment, and then off you go into more exploration of more contrasting experience. And you are right. When you understand this process so that you realize you never get it done and you can't get it wrong, and the reason that it's never done is because there's always more for you to reach for, and the reason you can't get it wrong is because it's never done. You cannot stand in a wrong place without offering a new request and the universe lining up to yield it to you. So you cannot get it wrong, and you never get it done. We love it when you hook into that knowing, and what you're reaching for is the joyous expansion. People say, Abraham, what's the purpose of this life anyway? And we say, well, that's a tricky one to answer, because the basis of your life is absolute freedom. You are so free that you can choose bondage. You are so free that you can choose a good feeling or a not good feeling thought. You are so free that you can align with who you are or not. Freedom is the basis of your experience, of all of our experiences. The purpose of your experience, if you will make the purpose joy, then what you've done is you've made your purpose awareness of the vortex. And in reaching for joy, you'll align with the vortex, and then you'll get to experience the exhilaration of that expansion, you see. Mm-hmm. But we can't say that freedom is more important than growth, or that growth is more important than joy. Although when we speak to most people about the basis of life, we will say freedom and growth and joy, and they'll say, we hear you, Abraham, growth, growth, growth. We say, well, freedom and joy and growth. And they say, we hear you, growth, growth, growth. Because most people feel obliged to improve their experience. And what we want to say to you is that that is a given. You can't cease the improvement. You can't stop the comparison. You can't stop the you can't stop the source aligning with it. The only thing you can do is hold yourself back from your own expansion, which always feels awful. And when you allow your natural expansion, it always will, it always has, and it always does feel wonderful. So what did you say? Abraham, I don't think I'm ever going to be completely satisfied with what is. And we say, of course not. What is old news. What is old news. It's past tense. What's manifested, what is, it's old. The vortex is calling you. The vortex is calling you. That's what you just said to us. I'm aware that my vortex is calling, and unless I'm answering the call, I'm not happy. And we say, you figured it out.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. And